Well, I'll tell you, we changed English. I'm from the United States, so most of the questions or most of my presentation is about the United States, because those guys are the ones that started the drug war, and they're ones that have to end the drug war. It's got to stop there. But I've been here in Spain for years and years. And what's happened is I'm a writer, and what we've seen is all I wanted to do, I didn't want to be a writer to begin with. All I wanted to do was to have some decent dope to smoke, right? That's all I wanted, just some good cannabis. And all we could get, well, let's see. So, I mean, this started, like, the United States is the one that really criminalized things in 1937. But me, I've been growing for more than 50 years. I'm 70 years old now. This has been my whole life. And like I say, my initial goal was just to have some decent cannabis, because all we could get was the Mexican dirt weed, and then later came the Colombian. It was really quite good. The Colombian was a lot better. But in order just to do this, I had to transition, as a lot of people in this room have. They just wanted to start with some good cannabis to consume. Well, since then, I've had to be a researcher, an author, a photographer, a videographer, and a publisher. I had to start a whole publishing company just because of this silly drug war. And outdoor cultivation, well, it really started in the 70s. And we didn't know, I mean, all we had was Mexican cannabis back then, and we didn't know anything about it. You couldn't tell a male plant from a female plant. Nobody knew the difference. That's how much it's changed. It's total change. In Sin Semilla, ni idea. Nobody knew anything about that. And feminized plants, even though they were discovered about mid-70s, nobody knew what they were, because we couldn't get that information. And what happened was we transitioned from outdoors to indoors. And that's when that metal halide and the high-pressure sodium lamps came in. And that was, they started, it used to be on the street lights. You could see the street lights were high pressure, first metal halide and then high pressure sodium. They had changed over from mercury vapor lamps. Well, we just took them inside and started growing, and it worked really well. And I was one of the first guys that really set the record straight on that. In fact, one of the things I did, when you have a light bulb and it's hanging like this, over half the light is reflected. But all you have to do is turn it this way. This is something I learned in the Netherlands. Turn it this way, and more than half of the light, or at least half of the light, is direct, and it picks up the efficiency of that lamp 40%. Just 40%, just by turning it 90 degrees. And it's not that hard to figure out, but I was fortunate to travel over to the Netherlands a lot of times. And anyway, during that time, during the last 40 years, I've written more than 50 books in 11 languages. So that's really cool, because I'm teaching everybody to learn to grow more and better cannabis. That's it. That's been my life goal, and it's working all right. The room's full, eh? So that's a good deal. And the thing is, to teach people how to do stuff so they don't have to ask me the same questions over and over. You can ask each other and you can learn yourselves, but do your own experimentation. And for example, this plant here, this is Neville Schoenmaker. He started the seed bank in the Netherlands, out of Nijmegen. Well, this plant here on the right, that was on the back of the seed catalog. That was on the front, excuse me. That's a ruderalis plant, auto-flowering plant from Hungary that was taken. And this is back in like the 80s. He took that, actually it was quite a bit earlier, it was like 82 or 83 when he took that photograph. So these autoflowers have been around a long time. Nobody did anything with them until, like, the first one that came here was the Enano Blanco, the white dwarf. And it started this big, and now it's this big. Well, I've got more photos that'll come up. But this is like a huge evolution that's happened. And, it started all underground. Guys like this, Neville, he's not with us anymore. He passed away like 4 years ago. And he he came, he was on the lam, you know. I don't know if you know that expression, but he was running from the law in Australia, where he was born, because, well, he was growing quite a bit there too. Yeah. But anyway, he was the first guy to collect all of the seeds, get them together, and he brought in, and quite a few of these I helped with the big bud, and well, skunk number 1 and Afghani, but I helped him with one of the Afghanis and the big bud and several others that aren't listed here. But skunk number 1 and Northern Lights, these are all, you know, basic breeding varieties or strains, cultivars, however you want to look at it. And he's the first guy that brought them all together. He had an ad in High Times. Everybody was buying from him. It was really pretty great. And then after that, Carol Schuken, I can't never pronounce these Dutch names, but we used to know him as Keys back then, because everybody had like 2 or 3 names, you know, because so you'd stay out of jail. And anyway, he started that, and he's still around. He didn't come. I just talked to him on the phone the other day. He's still up in the Netherlands. And anyway, but he started the Super Sativa Seed Club, and he's okay, and he's moving things right along. Oh, oops. Here we go. And then, okay, I gotta make this faster. So when cannabis, the first really big step was cannabis became legal for medical purposes, Proposition 213 or 215 in 1996. But since then, it's been quite a while that it's taken to move this along, to move it, well, to get it legal, and now it's recreational in 24 states. And a lot more, 38 states have medical, but it's been a real struggle. Global trend, there's, well, Canada, they've got to be mentioned because it's legal nationally over there in Canada, and it's really a good deal. It's really a good deal. Canada's done a ton with cannabis. But now we're seeing countries like Malta is completely legal. Colombia, as you spoke earlier, 20 plants are legal. There's a lot of growing going on there. Mexico as well. Argentina is happening too. Germany, we'll see when that actually goes into place. And Thailand has been pretty famous. But still, it's still Schedule 1 in the United States, and we gotta change that. So where does that leave us today? Where it leaves us, all of this illegalness has left us with a killer plant. It's super important plant, and we got to catch up the last 80 years of breeding. But thank God we've got the internet now. We've got all of the communication. It's like global. We've got a global economy and a global information interface. And we've also got real inexpensive testing. So the technological advances are just through the roof. But we're going from like Zia Maíz, the old varieties here, to the new variety at the end. And we're seeing that happen with cannabis right now. And it's really a good deal. And then 2, before I used to hang out with a lot of bikers and stuff. I mean, you know, guys on motorcycles, and all my friends were criminals, you know. I mean, most of them still are, but they just have degrees now. So it's really a good thing. But anyway, I get to hang out with guys like this guy in the front row, Stefan Meyer, Dr. Gary Yates, who's brilliant guys, and also Bruce Bugby, Dr. Bruce Bugby, that knows, I mean, he's great for learning about lights and stuff. And this guy here, Dr. Clint Schock, he's from my hometown. You know, I mean, I can't tell you how many problems I had in my own hometown, you know, just to avoid jail. Well, now he's professor emeritus at Oregon State University, and he's the one, he knows more about cannabis than anybody in Oregon, is, according to me, because he has done more with these autoflower varieties. You know, we saw the autoflower variety at the beginning. Well, he's like 76 years old now. He's had a doctorate's degree in genetics since he was like 26, 27 years old, traveled all over the world. He's a true breeder. He knows about breeding, and he doesn't waste any time. We're seeing all kinds of cool guys like him enter this field. And then where do we have only 20, but in a growth industry like this, only 24% of the people or businesses, 24.4% have made any money last year or didn't go broke last year. You know, they just stayed even or less. So we've got all kinds of things, all kinds of hurdles. The fight's not over. We've got legislative hurdles, you know, like we were talking here about all of the the problems with the legislature and in Colombia. Same thing. Those guys don't know what a plant is, let alone how to help people grow more of it. All they want to do is control things. We're going to have trouble with them forever. And then let's see. And then retail evolution. Most of my friends who were in the grow store business, they all went out of business, or most of them went out of business because everything changed. It used to be, you know, you'd sell to everybody that was growing underground, and the price was good. The price used to be really high, like well, in kilos de aquí, it would be like 4,000, 5,000 euros for a kilo. And now the same kilo sells for like 500 euros, you know, in the United States. So it's a big difference, and that changed everything. But and then also we've got Amazon, Temu, and Alibaba. They all sell grow lights. They all sell grow stuff because the stigma is starting to go away, and the big guys jumped in. And then there's also the startups, you know, the Fluence. Javier's here, and from Fluence and all, or well, he uses the Fluence lights. He's not from there. And MJ Biz Daily, that's a great magazine. They do a lot of stuff. But the investors are looking for more studies, and we talked about that earlier. This photo is just cooler than heck. Because, okay, you can read this, but what I want to focus on here is look at these resin glands here. This resin gland is like it's from a triploid plant, and we believe that all triploid plants, that's the one with 3 sets of chromosomes, and they're also asexual. They're really hard to pollinate and stuff. But that's one of the waves of the future. And you can see these in bananas. Bananas they're pretty much all triploids. Seedless watermelon, same thing, triploids. So we're seeing real sophistication get into our industry, where we've gone from, you know, a bunch of growers in the basement to now we have PhDs that we can rely on to change things, and better science, everything. So this is quite important. And then also is like less time. The Dutch guys have figured out how to cut the light bill. They're so cheap. I love them. Cut the light bill by 60%, and cut flowering or cut complete indoor growing time by 40%. These are huge, and it cuts your costs. Cuts them immensely. And then also forward-looking strategies. There's all kinds of strategies, lots of science. So we're going to be based in science in the future. And here we go. And here's books I've done. This is the last one. It's in 11 languages. Thanks to Stefan. It's really good. And that's kind of it. Hope you guys liked it. So. Thank you.